we're just 12 days away from the deadline for ByteDance to divest TikTok, and so excited in the U.S. Joining us now, Congressman Darren LaHood of Illinois. Representative LaHood sits on the Select Committee on the CCP and also is from Peoria. Your district is in Peoria. Whenever we have any questions about anything and how it will play across the country, we can I have you, before you leave, can I get your contact information?
Absolutely.
For what will play in Peoria for TikTok, do you think?
Well, if you go by the law that we passed in Congress, a bipartisan law, we need full divestiture from ByteDance, and that's what we're working on. That's what the intent of our law was, to make sure that China is not using the data of Americans. That's number one. Number two, the algorithms that the CCP use as a part of TikTok, we need to have a divestiture from that. So I really look at this through a national security lens, Joe, and that's what the Congress voted for in a bipartisan effort. So we have till April 5th to see what the Trump administration comes up with.
Congressman, I don't want to be cynical, but until TikTok helped the president win, what is it? Was it I guess re-election, even though they weren't consecutive. Yeah. But suddenly it seems like the entire administration has tacked a different way on TikTok.
Well, we'll see what happens between now and April 5th, but the law is the law. The Supreme Court has said that. They've given the Trump administration some time on this. But let's remember, Joe, I start off with the premise China has a plan to replace the United States, and they're working at it every single day. They want to beat us technologically, militarily, economically, diplomatically. That's not just me saying that. CIA Director Ratcliffe has repeatedly said that. And when we voted on TikTok in the Congress, remember who voted for it? Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance when they were in the Senate, Elise Stefanik, Mike Waltz, my colleague on the Intelligence Committee. We have to get this right. We've given them a lot of discretion, and the president has put the vice president and Mike Waltz in charge of this. We'll see what they come up with.
Do you think there was any paranoia in the original bill itself? Because I watch what's on. What I don't understand is it that we're worried that they're collecting information about our country and our youth, or is it they're actually putting things on there to try to undermine our youth at this point? Because you could take any U.S. Social media company and probably tar them with the same brush in terms of not being so great for society and our youth.
Well, Joe, I think it's two things. Data is the future. If you talk to anybody in technology, it's data. And having the CCP to have a back door to everyone's data, privacy data, health data, financial data, having the CCP, the Communist Chinese Party, as a part of that is just wrong. We can't allow that as an adversary that's working against us in so many other areas. Number two is the manipulation of information that you see on TikTok. You're never going to see any criticism of Xi Jinping. Right. You're never going to see anything about the independence of Taiwan. You're never going to hear anything about human rights violations in Tibet or what happened in Hong Kong. It's a manipulation of the data. If you go to China, it's a surveillance state. They monitor everything. They censor everything. If that's what we want in terms of TikTok and ByteDance, that's what we passed the law in the beginning, or in the Congress on. That was the genesis of it.
But in terms of just free speech advocates, if they don't divest, do you shut down TikTok? That's where people think it's a private company. You're actually shutting it down because you don't like, whatever you're seeing on TikTok.
Yeah, well, that's the legal framework that we're in right now. But the law is the law. And what we've asked for is a full divestiture of that. So we want to continue with TikTok. We want to continue with free speech. But ByteDance has to be eliminated from this process, because that is the back door to the CCP. That's who they're being subsidized by. And that was the intent of the law that we passed.
Then how does it play? What's going to finally happen, do you think? What's the best outcome for everybody involved?
Well, I think putting the Vice President Vance, Mike Waltz in charge of this, I know they're working with some wonderful U.S. technology companies right now. They're in the middle of negotiations on that. They have till April 5th to do that. I have full confidence in the President and J.D. Vance to come up with a solution that protects the American people, but also, again, divests from ByteDance, which is what we all want.
You made the point off camera that there was a time when Peoria was very, very conservative. So that's where the expression came from. If it will play in Peoria, you've got like the most conservative place. It could play anywhere. I mean, it's changed from that, but we still use that expression, right?
We sure do.
About playing in Peoria. How is DOGE playing in Peoria? How is tariffs playing in Peoria? How is the forced deportation of criminals that are here illegally? How are all those things playing? Because we hear that Republicans are avoiding town hall meetings because there's so much backlash. But then I look at who's actually there, and a lot of the people that are there are not Republicans in the first place. But how is it playing? How are all these things playing in Peoria, in your view? And you're a Republican, I guess you'd say they're playing great.
Sure. Well, let's take DOGE, for instance, Department on Government Efficiency. What I tell people, it would be a much different conversation, Joe, if we were $36 trillion in surplus. We're not. We're $36 trillion in debt. So having a conversation about how we make government more efficient, more effective, more accountable, how you get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse is a good thing to have. You know, this year, we're going to spend $7 trillion of taxpayer money. We're only going to bring in $5 trillion. We can't continue this deficit spending. And so DOGE, I think, can be somewhat controversial, but when you tell people you have a different set of eyes coming in and streamlining government, that should be a good thing.
How come the Republicans haven't been able to do that in Congress with the budget? Like, why not pare back? And it's not just the Republicans, it's the Democrats too, but how come Congress hasn't been able to pass more balanced budgets and get their arms around this?
So, great question, Rebecca. I mean, we haven't had the fiscal discipline to do that. We keep spending and spending and spending. I call it reversing the curse. And this is why we got elected. This is why we have the House and the Senate and the presidency, is to reverse that curse for our kids and our grandkids on that. So this is our opportunity to do that. DOGE is one step in that. And I remind people also, everything that DOGE comes up with, 95%, is going to have to be voted on by the Congress. And we have an obligation and responsibility to do that. So I think when you explain it that way and you tell the American people that we're going to try to reverse this, they're acceptable of that.
Will Congress vote to support those issues that DOGE is bringing before it?
We'll see. You know, that will be the controversial part of this. Elon Musk has till July 4th to kind of come up with his proposals. Once he does that, the tough part will be Congress implementing a number of these cuts. But we have to do that.
All right, Congressman, have you thought about running for Senate at some point?
I love my job.
You love the job. How many terms have you served?
I've been in for 9 years. I love representing the 16th District of Illinois. It's a great district.
What a diverse state Illinois is in terms of political leanings, is it not?
Yes, it is. We you know, we're, I would say, a purple state, but we got to work on making it a little bit more red.
You really think it's a purple? The governor doesn't think it's a purple state, does he?
Well, we'll see. President Trump did remarkably well there this last election.
He did. Okay, Congressman.